No, 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 no. Okay, low NASDAQ, low NASDAQ. Who the f put this here? Okay, log in, log in, log in. Okay, it's time to make some money. Let's go. Okay, I'm gonna short NASDAQ, 4,000 shares. Hold on, hold on. Okay, and sell, 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 sell. Boom, that's how we make money. Easy day trading life. Yeah, we all kind of wish day trading was actually like that, but it is nothing like that at all. Definitely, my desk does not look like this when I am actively trading. So the first thing I do when I come into the markets every day is I come in before the market opens. I come in about 15, 20 minutes before the market opens, and this gives me time to prepare. And the first thing that I do is I open forexfactory.com and open the calendar. What this does is it shows you what news reports there are that day. And so today is a Wednesday, and what we have going on is it looks like there's news at about 10 a.m. There's already news has already happened before the market. I don't really care about that. You know, sometimes it'll cause a spike before the market. But right now, what I'm interested in is the 10 o'clock news. Because for me, that's after 30 minutes after the market open. Even though I'm coming in at, 7:30, this is market time. And so market opens at 9:30 technically Eastern time. And so basically it means, okay, at 10 o'clock, 30 minutes after market opens, there is news. And so I have a actual indicator on my chart that also tells me when these news cycles are happening, and we'll draw lines on them. Otherwise, I normally just draw a line. And so this allows me to go in and say, okay, going into those times, I want to be paying attention that there's a news event happening, and that I need to be aware of that it's going to cause potential move in the market. And so what I'm looking at is the NASDAQ futures and the ES futures, or the S&P 500 futures. And the next thing that I do going into analyzing these markets and prepping for the market to open is I pull up a 15-minute chart of both of them, and I look at, okay, where are the major swings in the market? What are the big support resistance levels doing? What is the major trend doing? And right now, looking at the NASDAQ, we've been bouncing between these two major levels already. I've already had those drawn. And then today, we're kind of just, we gapped down from yesterday, and then overnight, it's kind of had a little bit of movement. But big picture wise is I'm seeing, okay, well, we've bounced here a few times. Maybe we'll get something there. There's kind of this downtrend line here too. There's not really a ton that's super interesting right now, right at the open. So, that maybe says that today is going to be a slow day and I need to just be patient. Again, looking at the ES futures, they look very similar. But there is this kind of level down here, this kind of double bottom that the markets had overnight going into a smaller chart. You can kind of see that right here, is there is a double bottom here, and there was that pre-market news. That's what this move is from. And so maybe something interesting today would be if the market comes back down here, and I can look for a bounce off of that level. Going into a 1-minute chart here, the biggest thing for my strategy is that 30-minute window after the market opens. I constantly see where the market will swing down into a level during that point. It'll line up with that timing, and then I'll look for a reversal pattern. And so that's all I'm doing in the mornings. I'm prepping and seeing where it's likely to have those reversals at that timing, seeing where potential news is happening as well. So once I'm done with that, I will go in and, I'll post this to my chat room, kind of telling people what I'm looking at. But at that point, it's just a waiting game. It's sitting for about 30 minutes and waiting for those opportunities to show up. If they do, take a trade. And if they don't take a trade. Okay, so just to show you the setup while I'm kind of just waiting for the market, I have 4 monitors. And essentially what I'm looking at is, I look at the 15-minute of NASDAQ and ES just to help kind of look at the big picture. And I have a screen with the 5-minute of the NASDAQ, and then a screen with the 5-minute of the ES, and then a screen with the 5-minute of the oil futures. And the whole idea there is I am mainly just looking at how it reacts to these levels on a 1-minute or a 5-minute. And I'm just patiently waiting for it to be in a good spot that makes sense. You don't want to be reactive to the market, even though it looks like it's kind of going up or down and there's potential moves. The way I found to be consistently profitable over time is sitting patiently waiting for it to come to, your setup. I want the market to come down here to this level, and right now it's not really doing that. And if it doesn't do that, then I won't find a trade today. Oil right now I think is more interesting in terms of it's kind of had a failed breakout attempt here of this big downtrend line that was off of a larger 15-minute chart. That's this big downtrend line right here. My thought is, hey, maybe we, see some failure here. And there's this big move up right here that I see as a weakness in the market. If it decides to get moving here, there's no real support until really kind of this high or down here. And so if I can get in on this move right here, it looks like it's close to happening, that's where I'm gonna be able to get in short and catch a potential big swing down. And what I'm basically waiting for here is I want to see this close with a lower high in the market. It's getting pretty close to potentially doing that, but I need to see a bearish candlestick form here because that's going to give me the confidence that, okay, it's setting in a double top here and a lower high, that we have, that it's playing out to what I want to see. And if it doesn't do that, I'm just gonna, sit on my hands and knees and wait for a better opportunity, if that's later today or tomorrow. We've had that 30 minutes now. It's now bottom of the hour at the 8 o'clock time. We have a downtrend here. All I'm looking for now is this downtrend to basically break. I want to see it break this downtrend and make one more attempt to go lower, basically make a double bottom here. And then I like that as a signal to go higher. Essentially, the idea is that, hey, we've come down to this, more major level here, looking at a 5-minute now, where, it's had that double bottom there before. And so I think that it's likely with this timing of being 30 minutes after the market open, which is 8 o'clock my time, 10 o'clock Eastern time, and that we will potentially reverse this move. But you need to see a couple things before it happens, because sometimes the market will continue this downtrend lower, or it'll just not work out. It'll break up a little bit, but that'll be kind of a bull trap actually, and then keep going lower. And that's why I don't like getting in on this initial move. So that's why sometimes I'll even more elect to look at a 5-minute chart, because a 5-minute chart won't be as fast paced. It's not as likely to bait you in to a trade that you shouldn't be in. Seeing that the market will go up here on a 5-minute, come back, and then if it produces another strong bullish candle on a 5-minute, that's a really strong confirmation. Just looking at over here, this is on a 5-minute chart, and it's a really clean double bottom where it comes in here, and you have multiple candlesticks showing up that then launch this market higher. And so the only reason to really get in on a 1-minute is if you have FOMO and you're scared about missing out on the move. And I've realized over time that it's kind of better to enter in on a slower chart because that noise will be taken out and it's not as intense emotionally. So I'm just gonna really just sit here and watch and see if it pulls back for me. If it doesn't and it just shoots up here, that's okay. That's not a move I want. It's not about capturing all the moves. It's about trading the moves that you can be profitable in. That's the biggest key when it comes to trading. So many people lose money consistently because they're trying to react to the market and capture every move that they think they should get. You can't be profitable doing that. It's all about waiting and getting the moves that you can be profitable with. Okay, so it's actually been a little while now. It's past the 8 o'clock time. We had a little bit of a bounce here if you look at a 1-minute chart, but I'm looking here at a 5-minute, and I actually want to get in long on this right here. If it breaks up a little bit more, you can see it kind of had a fake out here, but I'm going to get in long here above that little break for 9 contracts because I see this as a double bottom. Essentially, we've come down here, bottomed. Hold on, just got filled. Let me just move. I'm gonna move my stop down below this low, and then it's made a push up, showing some strength, and it's come back down and made a higher low. So it's starting to show, okay, we're in a potential uptrend. And then so I just, I saw that little punch higher, and then it pulled back, and then I wanted to get in on a break of that. To go on in a 1-minute chart to kind of just show you that. It's just a little bit more confirmation for me. But overall, that's the pattern that I'm looking for is, we've come down to that level. We found a bottom at that timing after that news. And then from here, what I want to do is, because the market found some resistance up here, I want to, if we get up there, obviously, I want to take off. I have 9 contracts here. I'm going to take off, I think 2/3. This market's kind of choppy, so I'm literally just gonna put a sell limit here at 2/3, You know, my risk right now is about $730 for these, and so I'm gonna take off 2/3 of my trade at that. You know, the idea is, okay, big picture wise, looking at the NASDAQ here on a 15-minute chart is, you know, I'm buying this bottom here. This could be a bigger push higher. Now, I think it's kind of unlikely, you know, we're kind of in a bigger downtrend potentially. We have this downtrend line, and so that's why I wanna kind of take off some of my trade just right here and see if I can just get kind of that move. And then the rest I'll trail up to break even, or, you know, as it kind of goes higher. And if it slows down, you know, I'll manage based on that. And just give an update on oil. Oil is kind of not really doing much either. News is about to come out in 7 minutes. Unlikely I'm gonna find a good trade during that just because it's pretty volatile, but potentially something could set up. So at this point, it's just kind of twiddling my thumbs and waiting for this to play out. Now, interesting thing to show you while this is kind of working in my favor is here's the NASDAQ on a 1-minute chart. You can see where I entered in and how much it's up. And then here is the ES futures on a 1-minute chart. And you can see if I quickly cycle back between them, the NASDAQ is way higher than the ES. As I was going into this trade, I was looking at kind of this move here, essentially saying, okay, which one looks more bullish? And you can see that move, the NASDAQ here was stronger and the pullback wasn't as far down compared to here. The ES, you can see it made a more of a double bottom. And so my idea with that was, hey, I see that this is, you know, it's stronger. And so I want to get in on the stronger move. And so now that we're getting moving here, I'm actually gonna manage this more on a 1-minute chart. I'm just gonna pull up my risk reward tool here to kind of see where I'm at. I'm gonna move everything up to break even at this point, because if the market comes all the way down here, I pretty much want to be out of the trade. It's gonna spike up here and come back down. There's no point in risking, you know, giving all that back up, right? And taking a loss. I'd rather give the profits back up and be break even on the day at least. It would suck, but it's totally possible. This market is pretty whipsawy. I think if it got up a tiny bit more, like up here, I would have started to move my trailing stop loss up. But big picture wise, again, I want to manage this on a 5-minute. And so I want to try and give it some wiggle room, right? I think the big picture in play here is that it could continue to move higher off of this double bottom. Now, it totally could. There could be some kind of downtrend here that it's hitting. And you know, that's just a part of trading. Sometimes your trades work out really well and sometimes they don't. And because I was risking kind of this much, I want to be going for 2 times my risk at a minimum. I don't think it's worth it getting into a trade and trying to over manage it and not getting as much money as you could have. Because at the end of the day, you know, trading is all about math and you have to be getting the right amount of profits for how much you're taking, because you know these only work out, let's say 50% of the time. I need to be making a good amount of money when I'm right. And if you over manage, you're gonna be, you know, hamstringing yourself and handicapping yourself to be consistently profitable. And so oil here as well is, as this is just playing out, oil here is a couple minutes from the news. And so I'm gonna watch that just because big picture wise, we have had a nice move up. We've had a big move here and then a big move here. We could get a little overextended and move up to here, to this level up here, and then reverse. And so I'll just keep an eye on that and potentially get in a trade there if it makes a nice signal. But so far it's pretty quick to move higher. This is finding some resistance. Part of me is nervous and wants to move my stop loss up here. But again, that feels like I'm getting out really, really early. I want to give it a little bit more room, see if it maybe just spikes lower here and then moves up. Again, it's hard to be disciplined to do that when it's starting to slow down. It had that really nice move right away. Sometimes they work out great. Sometimes, you know, it slows up here. And so that's a really nice move of it eating that up. You know, part of me really still wants to move this up and capture some of those profits, but I don't want to do it before it breaks. It needs to break this high first for me to feel comfortable with saying, okay, it's put in a little bottom here. Now, oil just came out with the news. It is starting to, you know, make a double top here. I don't want to jump in too early on this candlestick, just because if going into a 1-minute chart, you can see it happened pretty quick. And that'd be mainly because of the news. I want it to show, you know, a bigger signal that, hey, it's not just kind of a liquidity whip and then it's going to continue higher. You know, looking at this candlestick right here, it moved down and then moved up, right? Like what I want to be waiting for is it to show, honestly, probably a couple candlesticks before it does that. That's sometimes what I like to do, is almost just go to a blank chart and say, hey, what does this look like? Because not having the trade on and all those drawings kind of sometimes cloud your judgment, and you can just look at it blank. There is this downtrend right here that we're working against. But again, I think if we break that, it's a good chance to continue higher. Like my trade is break even. I'm not gonna lose any money on it. And the risk reward potential is still good. I'm liking oil here as well, just to bring this chart up on the side. I wanna be patient here with getting in on this first candlestick after the news. This I like going into a 1 minute chart. I try to avoid that sometimes. But in terms of, it has made a double top here, and we are at the highs. And so I think I'm actually going to look for a trade here, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and do half size. I wanna see how this candlestick closes, and I think see how the next candle actually moves as well. Because it's kind of showing, you know, it's been showing strength a lot. I think it's likely to just continue higher. And so I don't want to get in a trade that's not gonna be great. Okay, so now this is kind of why I didn't want to move my stop up too quick, is because looking at this, it bottomed here and now it's looking to break this high. And that's where you can kind of start to see, okay, there's maybe an uptrend here. You know, it could just double top here and continue lower. So if you've been wondering what platform I'm using here, this is called the Ninja Trader. You can start practicing with live data, which most places actually cost money for right away. I'll leave a link for it in the description of this video, or you can use this QR code right here. And so as this is starting to maybe put in a bottom here, this is still really not looking great. I almost want to take half off here at 1x, but it's really hard to sometimes when it just feels like it's just not that much money for a trade. Oil here, I think, is starting to look better as well. In terms of the 1 minute, it's kind of gone up and started to show some weakness. And on the 5 minute, we have this double top happening. And so I think for this, I'm going to get in just to kind of make this bigger picture here. I'm going to wait for this candlestick to close, and I'm going to get in short here. I think actually at my larger size, because this is kind of what I was waiting for. I'm waiting for that news to happen, and it's shown multiple candlesticks here of slowing down. And so I'm just gonna wait here 30 seconds while this happens. I'm looking at my NASDAQ trade on the other screen. And I think actually what would make me feel better here with this NASDAQ trade is potentially taking a third off here. I know it's kind of back and forth here. And this is how trading is sometimes, it's hard to just sit on your hands and knees and just patiently wait for it to happen. And it can make you doubt your, what to do properly. And so I'm gonna put in my sell stop here. If oil breaks below this, I'm gonna get in short. It's farther away from this uptrend that I think if it hits there, it's gonna break that. And we'll see if I get filled here in a few minutes. NASDAQ here again I think this looks good in terms of a 1 minute chart to overanalyze it. And in terms of, on the 5 minute here, I think it looks good too. I think hopefully we get kind of a punch up here, and it can hit this, and then I can trail the rest of my trade stop losses and close out with a nice profit. So as this punches higher and gets closer to my take profit, I'm gonna actually trail up my stop loss for this as well, because as it gets closer, I am, my risk is, my potential profit gets limited. And so I don't want it to come up here, almost hit, and then sell off all the way down here. I'd rather just get out here. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm on a 1 minute chart here, and I'm going to just trail my stop loss here up via the previous candlestick high. Essentially, if it goes up, great. It hit my take profit target, and I took off 2/3 of my trade at 2 times my risk. And so it's pretty agonizing waiting through this spot right here, but that's, again, kind of just a part of trading. My next thing is thinking, okay, are we going to continue higher, right? Big picture, this is a nice move up. We could run into some potential resistance up here. And so for this, normally I would trail up my stop loss here pretty quickly, but I want to be managing this on a 5-minute. And so a 5-minute is kind of, I think I'm going to pull it up to below this candlestick here, because I think it's either going to come up here and, you know, chop for a while and then continue higher, breaking this downtrend line and this resistance, or it's going to come up here and just sell off, and that's fine. Also looking at oil here, it's continuing higher. I'm just going to get out, or not get out, but just take off my entry because it looks like it's just going to continue higher. So this looks like it's about to knock me out here, and that is totally okay. I am up over $1,200 for the morning. You know, I've only been trading for about an hour, hour and a half. That's about as long as I normally trade, and I'm totally okay getting out there. Now, if you want to learn more about the strategy, I have a free candlestick strategy cheat sheet that you can get in the link in the description below this video, or using this QR code here. And if you want a more in-depth explanation of how this strategy works instead of this kind of raw live trading style, check out this video right here.